Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, look, anytime you're going to start a business, you're going to have to overcome some sort of adversity. And today we got a guest on the show who's got an unconventional way of his triumph over adversity. So let's get this one going. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone, because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. Bros, brace yourself for an Brace yourselves for an awe-inspiring episode featuring our guest today, whose journey from adversity to success is nothing short than remarkable. He's not just a serial entrepreneur, he's a conqueror of challenges and an advocate for turning obstacles into opportunities. His story details his triumph. Memoir, The Least Likely Millionaire, is a testament to the resilience of the power of channeling passion even in the face of adversity. So let's get ready to learn. Let's get motivated and inspired by our guest, Mr. Jonathan Beskin. Jonathan, we're on. Welcome to the program.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Let's start off with the journey. Tell me, like, short and sweet, what is it that you're selling today? Everybody who comes on the show has some product or service or something that we're selling. And before we get into your awe-inspiring story, what is that? What are you selling to the audience today?
Well, what I've sold and what I've gotten some notoriety for is a couple subscription box companies. I didn't actually have it in mind to sell them, but essentially my businesses are subscription services. So people sign up for a box. In this case, it's women's lifestyle products, so cosmetics, jewelry, fashion accessories, books, food. And they sign up to be a part of our program every month. As long as we successfully charge them, we send them a new box. The box is different, and two of those companies, one is called Single Swag, so it's the first box designed for single women, and the other company is a company I bought called Paradise Delivered, and that's marketed as a vacation-inspired experience you can enjoy from the comfort of your home. The other thing that I'm promoting and selling right now, just the ebook is released, as you mentioned my book, The Least Likely Millionaire. The subtitle is How to Succeed When Everyone Expects You to Fail, and it's a memoir about my story. Also with some actionable takeaways and kind of a blueprint on how to follow a similar path to become the next least likely millionaire.
That's awesome. The subscription service is not the easiest industry to break into. And you kind of mentioned you have a couple products for women and even one that was for the single women. How do you differentiate that as far as like identifying that target audience and then going after them? Do you have any promos or giveaways or discounts that you do to kind of get people on board?
Yeah, well, I mean, the company is scaled through aggressive social media advertising, primarily on Facebook and Instagram. This was a top 200 Inc. 5000 company. We're talking about Single Swag. And what really resonated with that brand is that there were some competing subscription boxes that were pretty large, but no one had something focused on marketing to single women. People don't realize that more than half of the world and the U.S. population of adults is single. More women are making more of a conscious choice to stay single longer. More people are divorced, obviously. So it's a pretty large consumer segment that no one was really focused on marketing to. And sometimes these people feel stigmatized. So it's something for them. As we've scaled the business, we've noticed that people who don't even identify as single, that may be in a relationship, may be married, also subscribe just because they like the composition of the boxes and the way we put them together and that type of thing. But really, it's all digital. So we do advertising on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, We have a very large email program. We do SMS messaging. So anything in the digital space. And what's a little bit unique about my story is that I did that completely on my own. I had a background in financial services. I taught myself Facebook ads, and I scaled from $20 a day at the beginning all the way up to $25,000 a day, and consistently over $10,000 a day for over 4 years.
Now, I want to ask about that because one thing I forgot to tell you before the show started is you have a live studio audience of high school seniors that are about to graduate into the world. And in my class, they're literally learning how to use a program called Go High Level. It's literally where they can create advertising funnels, text automations, Facebook automation, like a lot of the stuff that you're talking about right now, they're learning to do in my class. And if you remember being 17, it's not the most important thing in their life. And yet you're talking here that you started with a $20 ad budget and now you're up to spending $10,000, $20,000 a day in ad budgets. Can you explain to these kids the value of what they're learning in class and how they can turn a little idea into millions?
Yeah, well, I hope they can all do that. I think that they have an advantage over me because I didn't start this business until I was in my mid 30s. So I had no background, kind of like they might have when they started in digital advertising, how to build the campaign structure, how to build out the individual ads, what creative to use, what ad copies to use, what headlines. I'm sure they're familiar with all these terms now. They're working in these platforms, but really, there's a lot of free resources out there that I was able to tap into, watching YouTube videos, reading articles on how to scale this thing. And I was really so motivated to change my life. When I started the business, I had a little less than $2,000, and that's kind of what I used to start the business. The business did over 60 million in revenue profitably in under 5 years. So it's really a testament to if you're willing to put in the hard work and you're willing to learn these things. I think that a lot of people that start businesses assume that they can't teach themselves digital advertising, and they assume they have to immediately engage with a third party advertising agency, or they have to do that. And I think there's a lot of value in learning it yourself, because hopefully you're going to scale the business to a level where you do need some support. And then now that you have this foundation and this knowledge base of understanding how this works, when someone is talking to you about it, you're going to understand that language and you're going to be able to understand how it works. So it's really a valuable skill to have.
I agree 100%. And I hope they understand the value of what is being taught to them, because it's going to make a huge difference in their life to have even those skills, even if they don't go into it for themselves, to be able to say, this is a skill set that I have going into an employer makes a huge difference. Now I want to go into your story because honestly, this is more about your journey to be the least likely millionaire, and you're persevering when people think you're going to fail. Walk me through your story. Where did you start from? I mean, obviously I can relate to the $20 per day in ad spend. Tell me that story. What's it like going from where you were to where you are today? Everything from finances to how you're living your life today.
Yeah, there's really a lot there, but this business has been a life changer for me. It's been a life changer for me and my family. I have a 14-year-old son who, when I started this business, I really didn't have a lot of money, and now his life is changed in a number of ways, and I'm able to do things with and for him that I never kind of dreamed would be possible. So that's one of the most rewarding things. But really, like I said, I mean, I did this without a lot of resources, without any serious mentors. There's no one in my family or kind of in my inner circle that had scaled a business. And I had an idea. So I took the idea. I followed kind of a playbook that I found online at the time when I started the company. Really, the platform that was most important to kind of cultivate a community on was Instagram. Now I feel like in a lot of ways that shifted to TikTok, and Instagram may not be as important, or maybe as important potentially, but there are some other platforms like TikTok that could be equally as important. And I created a community on there. When I had the idea for both men and women. I was thinking that single people like me, I was single at the time, could benefit from something like this. But I did some market research, which I think would be important for any aspiring entrepreneur to kind of understand what's going on in that market. And women were really the consumers for these boxes, for the subscription box. So I decided to focus on women, and I thought that I could eventually bring in men or a men's offering if that made sense. But yeah, and I was looking for ways to scale the business. So at first, I was working with a few influencers at the time, so people that had written books about being single and success. And then I got into Facebook advertising. Fortunately, it was at a time when Facebook advertising was working a lot better than it is today. And I kind of talk about this in my book. And it's important to note that being an entrepreneur and is kind of portrayed in a lot of ways as always being exciting, always being, kind of this upward trajectory. My business grew like a rocket ship from 2016 through early 2021. And then something called the Apple iOS software kind of privacy update, where a lot of if people in the audience or if you have an iPhone, and a couple of years ago, it started to ask you if you want to allow tracking on, different apps. That had a real negative impact on a lot of e-commerce advertisers. So we weren't able to spend that 10,000 a day that we were from like 2017 to 2021. We, needed to make some changes. We need to kind of make some operational changes in the business to remain profitable because we weren't able to acquire customers at the same low cost that we were previously. So I like the term, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor because it's incredibly rewarding, but there's definitely a lot of stress and a lot of challenges that are always going to come along the way. But as far as my life, has just completely changed. I have a boat now. I drive a Rolls Royce. I can kind of do whatever I want. And a couple of years ago, that wasn't the case. And I was working I spent about 10 years with a career in kind of corporate finance and banking, where I was very bored by it. I never really thought that I was achieving what I was capable of achieving, but I was always scared to take risks. I never thought that I was capable of doing something like this. Now that I've done it, I'm confident I can do it again. And hopefully with the book and doing more speaking like this, I can really empower and encourage others, and especially students, to do the same thing.
I have a framework that I've learned from different mentors over the 1,000 entrepreneurs that have been on the show. It's got four pieces to it, and I believe that these four pieces are what makes any business scalable. And if you're missing any of the four pieces, you tend to own a job rather than owning a business. The first one is a method to grab attention. The second is a method to build a database. The third is I think I lost you a little bit. Probably a phone call coming in on your phone. The third is the ability for you to make a sale. And then the last one is the lifetime value of the client. How do you continue to extract cash from the lifetime value of your client? And I hope you can hear me. Jonathan, you still there? You still there?
I think I cut out for a second. Sorry about that.
Okay, so let me repeat that. So I got four pieces to the framework. One is a way to grab attention from people. The second is a way to build a database of clientele. The third is the way to make a sale online. And the fourth is to find a way to extract the lifetime value of a client. I think if you are missing any one of those pieces, you tend to have you own a job rather than having a business. You seem to have all four pieces. You were using ads to grab attention. You built a database of clientele that you sold over and over to. You had a method to make a sale, and then you continue to earn revenue from that client on a consistent basis using a subscription model. If being that you've already achieved success, how would you kind of break down those four pieces of that framework? Does it make sense to have all four pieces, or do you feel like I'm missing anything?
No, I definitely think this particular model fits that kind of playbook. I think that there's really a lot of people get hung up on the fact that they can't do something because someone's already doing it. So they have an idea, and I kind of talk about this in the book a little bit, that sometimes a crowded space can be an exciting space because there's room for more players in there to kind of achieve. I think the most important piece to that equation, or the most important way to do it, is getting attention through marketing. I think that's really, if I'm mentoring someone or if I'm talking to someone about a business, a lot of people come to me because I have expertise in subscription businesses, and they're always worried about the products they're going to put in the boxes. They're always worried about what the box looks like, what box to use. My biggest thing is, how are you going to get customers? You can worry about, it's a good problem to have put products in the boxes, to have to get the boxes together, to have people to do all that. But if you don't have customers, and if you can't acquire customers for a cost that's going to make a profitable business, nothing else matters. So I think really getting that attention, having the right marketing strategy, in my opinion, is amongst the most critical things to do.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because at the end of the day, when you're talking about spending 10,000 in ad spend, 20,000 in ad spend a day, a lot of entrepreneurs have this self-doubt. Like, I can't spend 10 grand a day. I can't spend 20 grand a day. But what they don't understand is your model actually is profitable. You're spending 20 grand a day, but you're bringing in a plus of 20 grand. That's the only reason why the advertising works. If you have an advertising model where you're spending $1 and you're making more than $1 back, then you're not actually spending anything. You're just, how much more can I throw on this fuel? How much more fuel can I throw on this fire? Because you already have an existing model. Am I understanding your marketing correctly?
Yeah. I mean, when we're spending that 10,000 a day, that was because we're getting a very predictable result. So we were going for, the key metrics of my business are acquisition costs, so how much we're paying to acquire a customer, and lifetime value, so how many months we can successfully charge a customer. And we knew that over that 10,000 a day, we were getting a profitable acquisition cost, or we wouldn't have been spending that much money, to do that. So it was kind of a very conservative approach. Like, I didn't just go from 20 to 10,000 overnight. I went from 20 to 50 to 100 to 500 to 1,000, and made sure those work, because really I was using my own money. There are some companies that raise money earlier on and may have some more flexibility in testing. I was using my own money. I was kind of reinvesting profits from the business. So it was very important that everything we were doing, had kind of profitability in mind.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are going to face that self-doubt, that are going to go through that testing phase that you're describing. As you're kind of increasing your ad spend, you're essentially testing the market. You're seeing what works, what doesn't work, what ad copy works, what creative works, and you're testing to see which one finally works. And when you did get one that works, that's when you started to add fuel to the fire. But that self-doubt, that mistake, that fear of failure, I think, is one of those things that inhibits a lot of entrepreneurs from continuing to test and make that progress. How did you overcome the doubts? How did you overcome or get the courage to pursue the entrepreneurial dream in the face of all those mistakes, which we call tests, but all those mistakes nonetheless?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I think that, I not only faced kind of personal doubt, like what you're describing, like, can I really do this? What do I know about digital advertising? How can I figure this out? But I really try to proactively share the idea for this business. So, a single women subscription box. And I had countless people that I respect quite a bit that have had success in different areas of their life, the corporate world, businesses, that thought it was a joke. That told me to my face that I would never be able to do this without a woman involved. I would never be able to do this without raising money. That who would want to buy this? There's too much competition. So many different reasons, so many different people that really ultimately didn't really know what they were talking about, but were willing to give that free advice or kind of impart that negativity. And I think that's really common, and that was really challenging to overcome. I mean, I thank God that I didn't give up, but there were lots of times where I, was so down and kind of beaten down by all this negative feedback and all this, that I wanted to give up. But I think it's important to kind of persevere, because ultimately, what's the worst that's going to happen if you fail? I think you're going to learn quite a bit, and it's going to help you in your next venture, whether it's in your career or, in your own business. But fortunately, I was ultimately successful with it. But the doubt for me was really toxic and at times very challenging to deal with.
Yeah, some of that toxicity actually comes from a place of love. I always feel like when you have an idea, the first place you go to is the people you love the most, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your spouse, or whatever, and you share that vision or that dream that you have. But because they can't clearly see the vision that you have in your head, they come to you with their doubts and they come to you with their fears and risks. And that's kind of that toxicity thinking that really stops you from taking any risk that you wanted to move forward. You said in your story, you had a career already that you weren't sure that you wanted to stay there and you were afraid of taking that risk. And I'm sure some of that toxic talk was holding you back from even taking that risk. How'd you manage that fear of failure? What was that thing that made you say, okay, I'm going to do this and take that $2,000 and actually put it to work rather than taking the family on vacation or, doing something, paying off a credit card or something like that? You instead took a risk on yourself. What pushed you to be able to do that?
Yeah, I think I got to a point in my life where I just really, needed to change. And I got to a point where I was so fed up with kind of being, I won't go into too much detail with it, but I just been beaten down a lot of my life. And I had a lot of issues in my family. I had a dad who, left to go to another state when I was younger and did some really not nice, very toxic things to my mom and I when I was growing up. And it caused me to act out a lot. So I acted out a lot as a teenager. I got into a lot of trouble. I was hospitalized as both a teenager and an adult for mental illness, like severe depression, anxiety. And I think I got to a place in my life where I just, wanted to change my life, but I also wanted to prove people wrong. And I think I'm still motivated in a lot of ways by proving people wrong and people knowing that I've had the success is like, for lack of a better word, kind of like an intoxicating like drug in a way. Like it just is something that fuels me like intensely. And I don't always think that's the healthiest thing because then it's like kind of never enough. But there's, been a lot of circumstances that I don't think are totally uncommon with a lot of individuals out there. And a lot of that led to this kind of burning desire to do something more and really change my life. And I did make a lot of sacrifices. So, I didn't go out, during the few years I was initially scaling the business, didn't go out with friends, didn't watch a lot of TV, made some pretty simple sacrifices that led to a bigger long-term result. And I think a lot of people aren't always willing to make those sacrifices. Fortunately, I was. Fortunately, kind of worked out with this business, but hopefully, I can impart some of that to kind of the next generation and other people.
I got a bunch of teenagers in the room that are rebels. They do go out and get themselves in trouble sometimes, and they do want to have fun and live that life that they have right now. If you could go back to that troubled youth that you were going through, the issues that you had with your family, I can understand that. I know there are people in this room right now who have issues that are very similar. What advice would you give yourself at 17 to be able to kind of buy yourself some time ahead of time, or maybe take a different path, or maybe would you have just kept it all the same because it became got you to where you were today?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, it's tough because I have a 14-year-old son, like I said, and I try to, you always want, at least I want better for my kid than what I have, but it's like, do you want to intervene or do you want to? Because I think you're correct in the last thing you said that if I didn't go through these challenges, if I didn't have this adversity, I wouldn't have ever achieved what I achieved. So it's kind of like cliche, but everything happens for a reason. That being said, did I wish in some ways that I would have gotten started when I was, these students' age that we're talking about now, that I'm speaking to now? Yeah, I think that my life could have even been better sooner. That I think that I didn't have a lot of people like me talking to me at that time. I didn't have the benefit of that. And I think, what's unique in today's world is there's so many opportunities for young people to start to monetize things on TikTok as creators, on YouTube, getting ad sponsors, or even learning skills like digital advertising. I think AI presents some incredible opportunities that are like brand new. So I think you can still have fun. I definitely encourage everyone to have fun and go out there and kind of be a kid and be carefree and all that, and enjoy, and hopefully go to college and have a good experience. But I think there's a lot you can do at the same time. It's kind of like when you have a job and you have a side hustle. So you could be a full-time student and have a side hustle and have, learning these different things. And I think, there's not going to be any negative that comes out of that, in my view. So there's not going to be any negative by learning these skills, by potentially making yourself kind of a valuable asset, by potentially creating a company, or one thing leads to another. And, sometimes that time and that investment, although it is a sacrifice. I mean, my son wants to sit around and like watch TikTok all day, or play Fortnite, or go out with his friends instead of like reading books or doing other things. And even if you took an hour a day to do some of these things, or learn something new in the summer, or whenever it was, it's going to pay dividends.
I think I agree with you. It's going to make a huge difference. A little bit every day is better than a lot in one day. It's almost like the studying habits, or like what I like to tell my kids that are learning math. I go, you can't read about getting a six pack. You actually have to do the reps in order to get the work in to acquire those abs. And it's the same thing with all the other aspects of business. A little bit goes a long way. A little bit every day, you get a little bit better. You add, you implement, you learn, you succeed, you fail, you learn, you continue. And those are the things that are going to take you to that next level. Jonathan, if people want to reach out to you, they want to talk to you, they want to learn from you, they want to grab a copy of your book, how can they do that?
Yeah. Please follow me on Instagram. It's at jbeskin. I have a website set up, jonathanbeskin.com. And the book is actually available now. The ebook is available on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com, The Least Likely Millionaire. On August 29th, I'm going to be releasing the hardcover and the paperback on Barnes and Noble. You can kind of pre-order. But if you wanted the ebook, is a little bit cheaper if you wanted to kind of get that now before August 29th. But I definitely encourage anyone to kind of go on Instagram, reach out to me if you have any questions, or go to my website and see what's out there. But I appreciate being here. And, I didn't realize there were going to be students like that involved, and I'm definitely excited about that.
Well, let me ask you, man, you have a background in digital marketing, and literally that's what my whole world has been about lately, especially with the podcast. Everything from when you booked a spot on the show, to our email reminders and text messages that are all set up and automated, to hopping on this live show and then creating content for long form content. What would you say as a testimonial to us? What would you say about our experience so far in the digital space, or helping people that come on the show create digital content?
So what would I suggest about how to create that content, that type of thing?
Yeah, like what was your experience like creating content with the Business Bros?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, I had somebody. I need to even get some better expertise about joining podcast, or getting on this type of thing. But I'm excited to see what kind of content I can do to kind of promote the show, and what type of content you could provide me that I can kind of promote on my channels. I think I'm looking to do as many of these as possible. These interviews, just to get the word out there, kind of share my story, which I think has some unique aspects to it. But I'm really not sure that I have anything like specific on the show, or anything like that with content yet. But I'm looking forward to getting some clips and tagging you, and getting it out there as much as I can.
Perfect, because that's exactly what we're going to do anyways. And you know what? If this is your first rodeo into the podcast world, then I'm definitely going to reach out to you. I'll connect you with different podcasting agents that we already work with. And what happens, and usually I say this after the show, but I'll throw it here anyways. In a couple days, you're going to get an email text message from us. It'll have the full audio, full video. It's our gift to you. So that you can take this long form piece of content and chop it up into short pieces. You're also going to get a text message email for an AI software that we're affiliated with that will take this long form piece of content and drop it into short clips in an AI kind of way. It'll provide the headlines, the descriptions for you so that you have content pieces. Literally a 30-minute episode like this turns into anywhere from 12 to 18 pieces of content, and AI helps you do that. We provide that for you as well. And then when we clip stuff, I'll make sure to tag you as well so that we can get that out to as many people as possible. So Jonathan, thank you very much for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, his story is incredible, going from spending $20 a day on Facebook ads to over $20,000. I mean, that's a skill set that you can learn to sell almost any product and service today, because most of us are spending a ton of time on our cell phones scrolling through social media, and then we see the ad that captures our attention. Jonathan is literally teaching you guys how to do that. So make sure you guys pick up his book on his website. Go to jonathanbeskin.com. He'll got all the information that you can right there, or pre-order that hard copy or get yourself the ebook. And Jonathan, thank you very much for being on the program today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
Thank you.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz